When you feel like life has dealt you a hand of unfair cards, instead of folding, you double down and you stuck in the game. You faced battles, you felt broken, but hey, do us a favor, put your hand on your heart. You feel that? You're still here. Welcome to the Resilience Files Unlocked, where survival meets transformation.
I'm Jesse B. Evans.
I'm Carrie Bernunz.
And I'm Angelica Washington, and you are listening to
The Resilience Files
Unlocked.
So just a trigger warning before our episode today. We are having discussions about eating disorders, also known as ED. So please feel free to take care of yourself however you need.
And just a reminder, we are not therapists. We're not here to diagnose in any type of way. We're just here to share stories of survival and resilience, and hopefully you're inspired by that.
Today, we are going to be listening to Lori. She is a survivor and artist, a relentless seeker of love, and she has been struggling since she was a child with ED, also known as eating disorders, and she has found healing and reclaimed her identity. We are so excited to have her on today. Thank you so much, Lori. And her essay is going to be her essay is going to be read by Anissa Borrego, an actress known for her roles on NBC's This Is Us, AP Bio, and Station 19, and also a longtime wonderful friend of mine. So thank you, Anissa Borrego, for being here. Thank you, Lori, and we will jump into our reading.
By the time I was a senior in high school, I'd become bulimic. And honestly, sometimes I think all the chaos in my life led me there. Growing up, life was complicated, frustrating, disappointing, tragic, and just plain sad. Mixed with some good and really great times, of course, but I never knew when, can I curse? The shit was gonna hit the fan. My mom was an alcoholic bipolar. My dad had gambling issues and was always off hustling new ways to make money, and he was juggling marriages left and right. Meanwhile, I bounced around living with my grandparents, my aunt, my sisters, and then my sister and her new husband. I ended up going to 14 different schools from preschool to college and moved over 32 times in my life. What the hell, right? Sometimes I wonder how I even survived all that. But I'm so grateful that I'm still here. Compared to what other people might have gone through, maybe my whole life looks easy. But trust me, it felt anything but. All that confusion definitely had repercussions. Somewhere along the way, food and my body image became my coping mechanisms, leading to bulimia. By then, I was so obsessed with my looks and so caught up in what other people thought of me, and the purging just spiraled. My mom eventually got me into rehab for 3 months, and honestly, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. It gave me a break from the madness. I remember feeling so scared, but also relieved during the intake process. My dad was against it. No daughter of mine is going to a place like that. But I went anyway. I was upset with him and hardly spoke to him for about a year. Thank God my mother was there for me. Despite her own struggles with alcohol, even though she had issues, she showed up for me when I needed her most. Rehab was scary and liberating at the same time. People monitored my food intake, and we talked about our feelings in one-on-one and group therapy sessions. We also had these trust therapy groups that were kind of fun in a weird way. Learning to open up and rely on others was new to me. Art classes were my favorite, though. I'm artistic, and it was so cool to express my feelings creatively. I even got to make pieces for my family to. When I left rehab, I continued one-on-one therapy, went to group meetings, and lived with my family for a while until I got back on my feet. Stopping the purging completely in rehab was a huge milestone. I realized how bad it was for my system. Messed up my stomach, my teeth, I ended up with a lot of cavities, and obviously my mindset. Now I eat smaller meals throughout the day, I take probiotics, and I really love cooking. Over time, I learned what foods work best for me, which eventually led me to go gluten-free and dairy-free. I also ended up super sick in New York from endometriosis, which required partial hysterectomy, more trauma, more hospital stays. Life keeps throwing curveballs, but I keep finding ways to move forward. I'm still working on loving myself more every day, and sometimes people don't get it. I had an ex-boyfriend say, "You're the one that loves yourself," like it was a bad thing. That hurt, but he had no idea how hard it was to get to this positive place. I'm also learning not to be so needy in relationships and not to take things too personally. Each relationship gives me another chance to practice that. Through everything, my two DWIs in my 20s, which my mom again helped me address through Alcoholics Anonymous, learning yoga, meditating, seeing a psychotherapist, I'm just trying to be healthier mentally and physically. I don't regret anything because it shaped who I am. I've had opportunities to help others by sharing what I've learned, holding space for them, and listening to what they say and what they don't say. We all go through stuff. It's how we deal with it and take care of ourselves that helps us survive and become better humans for ourselves and for the people around us. Thank you so much for listening and allowing me to share all of this.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Anissa, for
Anissa.
reading that.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you, Lori, for sharing your story.
Yeah, Lori. Wow, what a story. We want to thank you so much for coming on today and allowing us and our listeners to hear this story. We think empathy can go in many facets, and someone may be dealing with something just like this. So you're here to save someone. We often do a check-in here, and we want to know how you're doing. And Anissa, I wanted to say thank you so much. You are welcome to go, and we do really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anissa.
Of course.
Thank you, Anissa.
Lori, one of the things we love to do here is we love to just check in and make sure that our guest is doing well. How are you feeling today? How do you feel, especially after that story being read?
Oh gosh, I want to cry. I had to stop the tears.
Yeah,
Just hearing it.
you are
Like,
such
oh
a
my
strong
God,
woman.
that's my life.
It
That's
is
my
your
life.
and you are so resilient.
And yeah, you going through it, you don't know, you don't stop and think what all she just said. Because if you did, you'd go, forget it, I'm not doing any of this. Because you just take it as it comes. Like I would check in so many times in my life and go. I mean, it took me a long time to stop and count how many times I moved. I mean, one year I moved 7 times, and I just counted. I go, the mailman gave up on me. You know,
Aw.
you know how they put those little new address things.
Yeah.
My thing was so thick of different addresses, and that's what I was like. This is insanity. This has to stop. And I guess when I got older, since I moved around so much as a child, I took it into my adulthood. And I would leave when it got bad. Like, okay, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this one. And I got used to doing that. And I'd leave people
Yeah.
and situations. And I just hightail it, before, like I said, the shit would hit the fan because that's what I grew up with. And I just remember the first time I moved to LA in my early mid 20s, I was like, I gotta stop this. This has got to stop. And so I moved more, but not as much. And so I slowly, it was just a process taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And my mom being alcoholic helped me. It made my life really hard, but she knew a lot of stuff and how to because she'd been to mental hospitals, so she knew a lot of stuff how to get help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to say, it's so Thank you so much for sharing that. My mom was a single parent mom, and our stories have some similarity, but not completely. I mean, very different. I moved around a lot. I used to say I moved every like 6 to 8 months for a lot of my childhood, as my mom was trying to find a better situation for us to move to, and I thought that was a lot. But when you said 32 times, 32 times, y'all hear that? 32 times, and in 1 month, one year, you moved how
Here.
many times?
7 times.
7
Wow.
Yeah, and it was.
times.
I remember counting, and I was going, and I'll lay in bed and I'll count, like go through my mind that time, and it just for some reason I'm the middle child. I moved around more than anybody else in my life,
Right.
and I moved, and I couldn't wait to get out of Dallas and go be on my own. And then I moved around more. I went to New York. I went to LA for the first time, and then I went back home to Dallas, and then I went to New York, and then LA again.
Is
And I moved around a lot those places.
Was there a reason
So
that you guys moved so much as when you were a kid? Was there like a specific reason where someone
because
in
my
the
mom was alcoholic, and yeah, we it was some it was being taken care of. Like my aunt, first of all, when I was, oh my gosh, when my grandmother had a farm, and E-I-E-I-O, and and my it's kind of like my grandmother stole us, because they were always trying to help us, because they knew my mom was messed up, so everybody in the family was trying to help us. And I think if they would have helped her, that would have helped us. And like, she was the bad guy. She was bipolar, and she was medicating herself with alcohol. And I think if they would have tried to help her instead of made her the bad guy, that would have been better. And so my aunt took us. I mean, my grandmother took us once. And I remember my mom coming back and stealing us. I'll never forget. I remember my grandmother standing at the door watching us leave. And I'm like 6. I mean, my parents got divorced when I was 6. And it's so sad. Like, but, and then I look at other people's lives, and I go, like, some people have been physically abused and sexually abused. And thank God I didn't have any of that. And I go, I didn't go through anything compared to what some people went through.
Yes, but we also,
But it's all relative.
right, it is. And, one of the things we talk about in other episodes is, just because your trauma looks different than someone else's trauma, it doesn't discount what you've been through. And I think we can relate to that. And I'm not sure, Lori, if you're a mom or not, but I'm a mother. And don't get me wrong, I'm not an alcoholic, but I can understand that your mother loved you so much that I think through her bipolarism, not that I agree with anything that has happened, because I empathize with you. I find that the empathy that you've given your mom in the latter years, which we'll get into later, is so beautiful. And as a kid, sometimes we don't know why our parents do certain things, right? And we're very confused and don't completely understand it. And your grandma was trying to protect you, but
with everything like going on and you moving around in your home life, was there anyone or any place where you could go or anyone that you could talk to that made you feel safe and grounded?
No.
That's real,
Oh, I had imaginary friends.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was the only one in my family that had imaginary friends, and I just like made up names. And I think it was because that was something I could control. And my family kind of made fun of me, but they made it light too. They go, "Where's Terry and Sherry and Serta and Murder?" And I would make them rhyme, names that rhymed. And I go, "Oh, you're sitting on Sherry and Terry, or something." And
I love that. So Lori,
and so my family all my family they have a great sense of humor. So thank God for that.
I love
And I got that from we all went through a lot, and we would laugh about so many things later in life, and we I don't know, we didn't like dwell on it like, oh my God, my life is so terrible. We never did that. And we would laugh about crazy things. We'd go, remember the time when Dad did this, and my dad was playful, and like if we were watching Frankenstein, he'd go get my mom's wig and put it on, and then he'd put cufflinks, on his neck for like, Frankenstein has the things on his neck, like, fun stuff. So that everybody in my family is great people. Everybody has issues.
I mean,
And
relatable. I think also it reminds me of like, you know what, the memes or you hear people say, I laugh to keep from crying. You guys heard that? Where like humor is sometimes not only just a coping mechanism, but it can be like healing in a sense where it's like we laugh at it now because that's how we get through it.
Exactly.
You know, it's by laughing at it.
I think we all can relate to that big time, right?
Like we have to make like jokes about it, you know, to like keep going. And then you look back now and you're like, that was crazy. Like, I can't believe that was my life. And
you know what? I mean, we are laughing about the imaginary friends, but the reality is like if you had nobody to go to, I probably would have been like you too.
Yeah.
I would have had to find somebody to tell something to because you had to get it out so you can keep yourself from going crazy and thinking like you were in this situation and you kept saying, you just kept going. You made light of the situation and even your family did that was trying to be there for you.
And I also applaud the survival instinct. You know, like that takes survival instincts to be like, I need something. And so you made a way for you.
When I was little,
you made a way to be heard and to feel safe. You did that.
And my oldest sister helped too. We talked a lot. My older sister and both my sisters. Oh my God, they saved my life. My sister that's closest to me, we look a lot alike. And then, there was I had to leave because of the drinking too. And every time I'd go home, because I stopped drinking, but the rest of my family didn't. And my brother just passed away 2 years ago with complications stemming from alcoholism.
We're sorry about that. Rest in peace to your brother.
My younger brother, and it was, oh my God, having a sibling pass away. And I don't have any kids. And none of my brother was the only one to have kids. And both my sisters didn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they've both been married, but I've never been married. So, and I think that has a lot to do with my childhood. And I love children. I would love, but I've never really I didn't ever have enough money to have a child, but most people don't have enough money to have a child.
Right.
My son, we somehow figured it out.
Right. Well, jumping in. Sorry. Please continue.
I don't even know. Go ahead.
No. You were talking about your.
I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Okay. Fair. Well, I wanted to ask, when did you first realize that your relationship with food and your body image was a problem?
That's a good question. Well, I used to do dance contests and bikini contests. I used to go to the clubs and do all these contests, and that was competition. And looking back, I think it started as a child because when my dad was married 6 times, and all of his wives were attractive, and it was about looks for him. It just was. And my older sister was heavier than the rest of us, and he would try to get her to reduce her weight. Like if we went to eat ice cream, she would have to eat sherbet, but we got to eat ice cream. So, I mean, this was back, you got to think about when this was too. And that affected me, but I didn't know it did. And later in my life, I go, oh my God, that's why I thought if you were heavy or you weren't attractive enough, you were loved less. I learned that as a child, but I didn't even realize I did till later in life because I saw my dad doing that to my sister. And I even told my sister that. I go, we thought that about my older sister. And we didn't talk about it, but it was like this mental thing going on in our mind. So there was no way I was going to be heavy. And I was going to look the best that I could possibly look. And I even talked to my sister about it. We made sure that we looked so good around our father and he wasn't a mean person, and he wasn't, that's just how he grew up. His dad beat him, his dad beat him with the belt, like the belt buckle, so everybody goes through something. And his dad was an alcoholic. His father died when he was 45, and my dad drank, and my dad gambled, and
Wow.
So, Lord, did you
And
feel?
I forgave them. I forgave my parents. I guess I forgave them, and I didn't have to say. You don't have to say you forgive them. You just do it internally.
Right.
Yeah,
I guess what
forgiving
I
is
did.
for us.
So, Lord, did you feel that you, as long as you were skinny, your father would love you, and if you got bigger, your father would no longer love you?
I don't consciously know if I did. I didn't think about it. I didn't go like, oh my God. But he would do this. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. He would do this. So like when I moved, every time I'd see him, because he knew I was into fitness, I was into kickboxing, I was into working out. I dated bodybuilders when I was in my 20s, and not a lot of bodybuilders, but one of my boyfriends was. That sounds like I dated all these bodybuilders. He was into wrestling, and my dad would say stuff. He goes, "So how much do you weigh now?" And it would bother me so much, and I always felt like saying, "Why does it matter how much I weigh?"
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted to say, "Why are you asking me that?" But that's how he related to me,
Yeah.
because he knew that I was in the gym and I used to I wasn't like bodybuilder, but working out, and I weighed 128 pounds at one time, and I just wanted to die.
Oh,
128 pounds.
I am so sorry.
And I remember
felt that
when I
way.
I was in rehab, and I got out for a day because my sister got married to the same guy she was married with before for the second time, and I got out to go to the wedding. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, everybody knows that I'm crazy. I'm in rehab and I'm going to this wedding, and I felt so I can't you I didn't tell anybody. I felt so awful. So probably nobody really knew how terrible I felt. Like it's all internal, and you're just like, oh my God, you just make yourself crazy. And it was awful.
Speaking of that, you said in your essay that your father was against you going to rehab, despite knowing where you were. How did that affect you emotionally and your relationship with your father?
Oh, I remember being on the phone. I yelled at him, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, what? Like, I thought that you would want me to, but he didn't know how to, he grew up differently, and he didn't know how to think that would be a good thing. And I think back then it was thought of, not that I'm ancient, but it's been a while.
No, it's true.
Back then it wasn't as acceptable, to go to rehab and to go see a psychiatrist.
Or
like,
like
oh my
therapy.
God, you're crazy.
Yeah, therapy wasn't acceptable at all for a different generation. And I say different generation, like we're in our 20s and early 30s on the panel, right? And I think, to me, like, I know my mom's generation, and my mom is just early 50s. That wasn't a thing. They didn't talk about therapy. And then my grandma was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it had to be something that became more acceptable. But it's so many things that you mentioned, and I kind of want to go back to it. I think that our audience needs to hear this perspective of when we say things and we exhibit behaviors, even as parents, as people in society, and sprinkle little things like how you saw your dad grow up and he had these really attractive women, and he always looked at y'all. Y'all said y'all always dressed up. You made sure you looked good around your father. I think just for anybody that's listening today, because I think that's so relatable to so many things, of figuring out how we can create this space of acceptability of no matter who you are or what you're doing or what you have going on. I kind of want to just like keep going on that thing with your father. So how did you, is your father still alive?
No, both my parents are passed.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm in my later 50s. So,
okay.
Yeah. And, I've been going through a lot of death lately. And, with my father, I didn't talk to him for a while. And then, but the great thing about my family is we had this love that, like, I could talk bad about my family, but if somebody else did, I'm like, what are you talking about? Do not talk
I can
about
relate to
my
that.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of families are like that.
Totally.
But we forgive, and blood is thicker than water. Like, we were always there for each other.
Y'all a different generation. Some people will cut their family off 2 cents. They would just be like, peace out. You curse me out, I'll never talk to you.
That's like a newer thing.
It is a newer generation, which I think is beautiful that you said that, because I think that people do need to be more forgiving. And it's so interesting. Like even what you say your dad's dad was an alcoholic and he died at 45. And I think for a lot of this of what you're telling us, and I know you're dealing with grief and death right now, and I'm so sorry to hear that, but I do think we have to tap back into that place of like understanding where our parents come from. We don't have to accept the trauma and the pain that they've caused us, but to understand like what has happened before. Like you got into rehab. Did you go into rehab knowing that your dad's dad was an alcoholic and that may be something
I don't think I knew that then. I don't know if I knew that then. Because my dad didn't talk about that stuff. That came out later. And when he passed away, I got to look at his, I might start crying. I got to look at he was very athletic. He got a scholarship to Texas A&M and a baseball scholarship. And he was really good at sports. And he ended up being a semi-pro golfer. And I was looking, I was like, why didn't he tell me all this stuff? He got like voted most popular in high school. I'm like, why didn't he tell? Maybe he did tell me, as a kid, and I wasn't really paying attention. But I was like, why? I was like, my dad was like, my dad was cool. I mean, a lot of people in Texas and Dallas knew him, and he was a cool dude, and he was very likable. And I don't know. We just knew that about him, but underneath that, I knew even how messed up my parents were. I did know it.
I love that. Can I ask you, and thank you for sharing that with us. And your dad does sound cool, and rest in peace to the cool dad that brought us our amazing guest. What was your breaking point? What made you, I know you talked about you had 2 DUIs, and I know you talked about, of course, the alcoholism and the eating disorders, but what was your breaking point of saying, you know what, enough is enough? And like when your mom helped you with going into rehab and you finally making that change?
It was the DWIs. Because then I started like, oh gosh, I'm becoming an alcoholic.
Can you tell us?
And I don't like to say, excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I would love to, if you could share with us one of the stories of what do you think one was, were they equally the same, experience in a sense? Or were
the DWIs?
Yes, ma'am.
They were different. They were 6 months apart, and I was in a blackout, and I was driving. This is like scary. And back then in Dallas, Greenville Avenue, there was a club scene, and my dad was in the club scene. We knew people. My sister was, and I was. My sister was a bartender at one of the popular places, and it was happy hour, and I even had a friend that tried to stop me, and the cops stopped me, and they said, "You were going 100 miles an hour." I was in a blackout.
Wow, honey.
So the second one, I was in a blackout too. I don't remember getting in the car, but I remember when you're in a blackout, it's like a movie. You remember little bits and pieces, like bright light, like, oh my God, I could possibly be in jail.
Yeah.
And so the wake up call was the second DWI, and then I knew I was going to be facing jail, and I was like, had to get a lawyer, and my dad helped me. My sister helped me get a lawyer, this famous for Dallas lawyer. And then the money, oh my God, being on probation. And I was one of the first people that had one of those breathalyzers in the car that you have to blow before you can start your car.
Oh, right.
Oh, whoa.
I was one of the first ones.
Lori, they still let you drive after the 2 DUIs, honey?
Yeah, that's the thing where they make you breathe it in order to turn on the car.
But if you get 2 DUIs these days, your license is revoked for 25 plus years.
She's saying this is like when that first started.
Yeah.
So like before that.
Oh.
Yeah, and I did have my license taken away. Because they were 6 months apart, and that's why I was going to have to go to jail.
Okay.
It's called a something misdemeanor. I forgot what it, it's more than a misdemeanor. And, but the jail was full. Thank you, God. God was watching over me.
The jail
I
was
shouldn't
full.
even be laughing at that because I'm gonna tell you an honest truth right quick, Lori. And I'm not doing this to shame you because I appreciate you sharing your story with us. But I thank you God that you went to rehab because I got hit by a drunk driver January 1st, 2024. And when I tell you it was the worst experience of my life, like it was the worst experience ever. And I think last year was like such a tough season of my life. Like
I bet.
I thank you for sharing this. And I know it's like you laugh through the grief and you laugh through the pain and you're also sharing the story to help other people, which I'm so grateful that you're here to do. But
I think what's super important that we can highlight is that you didn't hurt anyone, thank God.
Yes.
And then you had
God was
this
watching over me.
Yeah, he was watching over everybody that was on that road with you.
Yes.
He was watching over you, everybody, and I'm so glad that nothing happened. I'm so glad that you were never hurt, and I'm also glad that you had the instinct to be like, "This is not okay. I need help."
Right.
And I think that is so important.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know because I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people like the guy who hit you. I'm pretty sure that was not his first time drinking and driving.
He
But
hit 24 people.
Right. I'm pretty sure that wasn't his first time. I wish he would have had the
Grand Theft
sense
Auto.
to be like, after the first time or the second time, to be like, man, I need help. And I think that, Laura, you were like, I'm not okay. I need help. And that's what you did. And I'm so glad that you did. And I commend you again.
And it was because it helped with my parents, my mom, and then knowing that they were alcoholic and and I wasn't even supposed to leave the county, and there's a whole nother story. I can write books. There's a whole nother story. I went to Florida because I knew that I was going to face jail. I didn't know what was going to happen, so I went to Florida for spring break and went partying, and so I did all that stuff too, and I was drinking still, and I didn't have a license.
Right.
They took my license away, so I went to Florida, and I got a Florida license, and then it was like, okay, I'm going back to Face the Music, and I actually saw my mom on the way back. She was in Hot Springs, and I stopped to see her, and then I went to Face the Music, and just being in court and knowing that I narrowly escaped from being in jail. And I remember there was a girl walking down the hall and going to jail, and I was going back out, and they said, go sit in the waiting room. And the girl goes, oh, it's not that bad in there. And she was kind of real pale looking, and I was like, okay, and it was a jail in Plano, Texas, so it wouldn't have been that bad. It wasn't like the Dallas jail, but I just remember running across the street and calling my dad, come get me because they might change their mind. Come get me. I don't have to go to jail. So by that time, I was talking to my dad again.
Oh my God. It should be funny, but it's so funny to me. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus.
So Lori, so.
But I didn't start going to AA till still later. And I didn't stop drinking.
Lori, that's the question.
Still later.
I want to know more about.
But I didn't drink and drive.
Okay. Well, amen to that.
Hallelujah.
I do want to know about more of your healing journey too. Yeah. You said that you did, AA, as you just mentioned, you did yoga, you did meditation, you've done therapy. What were as all of those together, but were there anything specific that really helped your mental health journey along with your, your physical journey, like things that aided you into becoming dairy-free, gluten-free, which, hey girl, me too. Yeah.
Going to AA and getting sick when I was in New York. That was when I became gluten free, and that was a female hysterectomy, endometriosis. That was a weird thing, and I don't know. Might have had something to do with the bulimia. I don't know. It was more of just one of those women thing, maybe a little bit hereditary, and I just remember getting out of the hospital, and it was like it was bad. I was in the hospital for 10 days, and it was a bad situation. And I just remember, I felt like I was being reborn again. I'm like, I'm not going to eat gluten-free, because I'd heard about, this was like in 2001 too. I'd heard about way before the whole gluten-free thing started. And I'd heard about the gluten, and I just said, I'm going to stop eating gluten. And I started on that journey and started cooking more. My mom was a really good cook, and so was my sister. And any chance that I could self-help books, any chance that I could read something, I went to hypnotherapy school. I became a hypnotherapist.
Wow.
So self-hypnosis.
Wow.
And Kundalini yoga I'm really into now. It's deep breathing yoga. And you do yoga poses at the same time, and it's just great.
Can just really
helps to calm you.
Oh, just really quickly, can you tell us what was going through your mind when you found out that you had to have a hysterectomy? Like, was that?
I was so sick, and I was so sick that it was okay because I just wanted to feel better. It's like, do whatever you got to do.
Right.
Take whatever you got to take out of my body, do it because I want to feel better.
Right.
And I was on morphine.
Oh, yeah.
That is a really good drug.
Oh, no, Lori, no. Endo is actually very common.
It is with women.
It is very common with women. Yeah, I've been hearing of some other stories about people having partial hysterectomies, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that experience, and I commend you.
And that could have been a lot of mental stuff. Sorry to interrupt you. That could have been a lot of mental stuff too. Being a woman, your looks.
Totally.
And were you still in the childbearing years?
It's all mental.
Right.
Yeah, I was in my
There's so many things.
I was in my 30s. I was in my 30s. I was in my mid-30s. Yeah, and it was sad because I was like, I'm not going to be able to have a child.
Yeah, because that's what
I was with somebody.
Right. There's so many.
And he was okay with it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was like, oh my God, does he still want to be with me? I can't have a child. And it worked out great. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that worked out that way. I was just going to add that there's so many things mentally that, as you were explaining, like our bodies, stress on our bodies can really, really take us out. It can make certain parts of our organs, certain parts of our muscle tissues, our bones, like so many things. It really, mental has such an effect on your physical body as well, that I think it's very underrated. I mean, especially I feel like now it's pretty common and like kind of popular now to talk about mental health. Right? Like mental health is very serious and we take it seriously. But like 10 years ago, I wasn't really hearing much about mental health. Like I wasn't able to like call out of work because I had a mental health issue, you know, or like because I was feeling really depressed and I couldn't get out of bed that day, or because I was so anxious that I didn't want to drive my car because I was recently in an accident. Like those things weren't taken into consideration the way they are now. So I really appreciate you pointing out that, you know, a lot of it could have also been like your mental health and like where we are and the effects that had on your body as well. And while
that
we're here,
probably had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. While we're here, would you mind giving a brief description for those who don't know or don't understand what bulimia is? So
bulimia is where you eat and you purge, and stuffing your feelings. That's what a lot that I was doing. I would overeat and eat too much, and then I'd feel bloated and I'd feel disgusting. And I was like, oh, I got to get rid of this. So that was like purging all those feelings too. I was eating my feelings and I was purging my feelings. And when I was in drill team and I was a cheerleader in 6th grade, so it was all about looks and being thin. And drill team, we had to weigh ourselves back then.
You know,
like
what?
how flight attendants used to have to do that.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No.
And,
actually, I remember this.
I weighed 110 pounds and I'm like freaking out. You know, I'm 5'4", but I was freaking out about, oh my God, what if I gain a couple of pounds? It was insanity.
Oh my gosh. And 110 pounds is like nothing. And you're, you know, a child, but when you're in it, when you're in it,
I still go through it.
Yeah. When you're in it, it matters so much and it's such a big deal. It's like looking on it later being like, oh, you know what? I was actually okay.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you don't see that. It feels differently.
Yeah. I think, Lori, you just said something to us and I don't want to just move past it. You said you still feel that. And when you say you still feel that, are you still battling any bulimia right now or any?
Yeah. I thought about that when I said that. Not as much. Like now I'm finally like, I think I look great.
Well, can I tell you,
like,
honey?
I'm like really.
And you do.
Really good.
And you do. You look amazing.
Lori, you're hot sauce. Okay? Hot sauce ain't got nothing on you, baby.
Thank you. You're so cute.
Okay.
I also
Thank you.
appreciate you saying that though, because sometimes those things don't ever really leave. You know, like we can heal from things and we can be on a new side of something, but there's always sometimes those little lingering feelings where it's like, yeah,
A
sometimes
little, yeah. So there a little bit.
I still
but
think
I've
of
gotten
that.
past that, and
Right.
I'm like, damn, girl, you're looking good, and I'm my own like
As you
cheerleader.
should.
Yes.
And I'm like,
And that's
As
what we
you
want to
should,
know.
Lori.
Because, Lori, I'm sure somebody's listening today and they're probably like, hold up. I'm like, Lori, like, that was 10 years ago, but right now I feel like crap. Like, Lori, walk us through when these thoughts come in your head. What helps you? What do you do? I just heard you do an affirmation. Maybe you can do it
okay,
first.
yeah. So yeah, it all like everything that I've done has helped a lot. I'm. Some people think that I'm overconfident, and that boyfriend that we were arguing about something, and he
About
said,
how
"Well,
you
you're
love
the
yourself?
one that loves yourself."
Yeah, the
And I
self-love.
I thought, oh my God, that hurt so badly, and I'm like, wait a minute. Aren't I supposed to love myself? And I had to like really think, and I'm not in that relationship anymore.
Thank God. Hallelujah.
You know, growing up how I grew up, I can pick the wrong men, and women can.
Look,
and,
girl, we've
you
been
know,
there.
but it's getting better. It's getting better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so, I don't know if I'm overconfident. I don't think I'm overconfident, but I'm so confident now because I've done so much work on myself, and I look good. And like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting wrinkles. And I'm like, stop it. Like you're supposed to have wrinkles. And I'm really embracing like my age, and like we have skin.
You better.
We're supposed
We
to
have
have
skin.
wrinkles.
We have
And there
skin. We have
And there are
body. We are
emotions.
uniquely made.
And we're not supposed to look like we did when we were 15.
No,
We're not.
We're
and
supposed to grow and we evolve. We're human beings.
exactly.
Yeah.
And hello,
It's the social media and
Social media.
you know, the Botox and all that. We're supposed to be
look,
Oh my
perfect.
and
goodness,
that's the
a
point.
whole
And
other
then
episode.
that is a whole episode. And if social media is causing you to rethink the beauty that you have inside, it may be time to log out of social media. And I don't say that out of disrespect.
A lot of people use social media for their jobs. A lot of people use social media for so many different things. I know some people who they're like, I hate social media and I want to be off of it, but I have to be on it for my job. And it affects them mentally
does.
all the
And
time. It affects their body image, their personality, their self-confidence, all of that.
And you know what? I'm going to play the opposite side of this and say, honey, it might be a new time to get a job. If it's going to play an effect on you that much, it's not worth your mental. We just talked about how much the mental can take over and literally change things in your body. It's no disrespect to anybody because I have to use social media. We all have to use social media
we
for
do.
work.
And I was
But
gonna,
then
we
you
have the
might have
privilege
to-
I have the privilege of being able to take a break. Like
Yes.
I'm an
Yeah.
actor.
And
If you
some
have to
people
log
don't,
on
then
to do it every day,
then they may need a different job.
I hear
Well,
you,
if
but
you
it's
keep-
2025. Not everybody can just go get a new job.
if you can't get a
There's
new
a lot of
job,
different- there's a lot of jobs.
something that might help is to just post and not scroll. If you can just like
That's
get
right.
on,
Okay, Jesse.
post
Jesse with
and
the
go
win on there.
Yes.
and not scroll. But if your job is like a
man.
social media content creator where you have to be aware of what's going on in the zeitgeist,
Yeah.
and it's affecting you, then maybe
Yeah, we have to think something else.
let's get on Indeed so we can find you something that's
But
not
I'm
sending you
taking
crazy.
it. I'm trying to turn it around because I was getting into that. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting wrinkles. And I was like, I've never gotten Botox. And then I'm like, can I curse?
Yeah.
I love you.
No, I won't say the F word. I won't say the F word, but I'm like, stop it. Like, stop it. I had to stop myself. And I'm like, Lori, I'm in my late 50s.
Girl.
Okay. I'm not far.
That's a
I'm
testimony.
not far from 60.
That's the
I'm not far
testimony.
from 60.
I love it.
And I
Wow.
was like, embrace those wrinkles. And I'm starting to talk
Exactly.
about it on social media. And I don't care what anybody thinks because I made these. I laughed and I cried and I made these wrinkles.
Ooh, can you
and
say
I
that
want them,
again?
and I'm starting
You
to love
made
them.
those.
I made those.
You know what? And the pure blessing that you made it to your late 50s when your great grandfather died at 45 is a blessing. The pure
even think about
blessing that
that.
you have wrinkles in your face shows that you have
goosebumps.
aged and you lived life is a testimony. Because I hate to say this, and it's no disrespect, because I don't want to justify that you can't have wrinkles and feel bad about it. You can, but don't sit there. You know why? Because there was a 12-year-old that died yesterday. There was a a 2-year-old that died yesterday. There was a kid that didn't even make it into this earth. And now you're in your late 50s. Embrace your aging. Embrace the things that come with aging. That means you're still alive.
I am.
You're still able to breathe. You're still able to have purpose. Do amazing things on this earth.
Yes.
And I ain't trying to preach at you because I know I was just preaching. Okay.
You was preaching.
But it's because I love you and I want you to embrace your age, baby.
I do too. But Lord, we have, unfortunately, we have to wrap up. But do you have any final words that you want to leave with somebody who might be struggling with ED right now, or any type of body image
talk
issues?
to somebody about it. You have to talk to somebody about it. You have to get help, and you have to express your feelings.
Yes.
And because you're eating your feelings and you're stuffing yourself, and you got to get help, and you got to find somebody to talk to, and talking about it first is the first step, and then you can work on not doing it anymore. Don't keep it a secret. Somebody has to know.
I love that. I appreciate that. So if somebody's listening today that's dealing with ED, get you a therapist. And if you can't afford a therapist, call one of the self-help lines. Let them know what's going on. Know that you are not alone. Know that your feelings matter and that you don't have to eat all your feelings. Food is good. Food is yummy. Food is delicious. And I love that Lori is a cook now. She like cooking. She like eating. You're not alone. You got this. Just talk to somebody.
Absolutely. Well, Lori, we want to thank you so much for being on our show today.
Yes.
We wish you nothing but so much more love and joy and health and peace in your life. And what a blessing you've been today. I know there's going to be people who are listening and who are watching, and people who may have parents that are, dysfunctional families, or might be dealing with alcoholism, or might be dealing with ED and their own body image issues. So thank you for sharing your story. And I really believe that people are going to hear this and they're going to relate and they're going to be touched by it. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Files. We hope that you were as inspired by Lori's story as we were. If you have a story that you want to share, send us an email at resifiles@gmail.com, or go to our website at www.theresiliencefile.com. And be sure to subscribe wherever you get podcasts. And until next time, stay resilient.
When you feel like life has dealt you a hand of unfair cards, instead of folding, you double down and you stuck in the game. You faced battles. You felt broken. But hey, do us a favor. Put your hand on your heart. You feel that? You're still here. Welcome to the Resilience Files Unlocked, where survival meets transformation.